Every sensitive prompt you type into an AI is one subpoena away from court. Most think it's private, but legally, your AI is a witness. We're entering an era where human intent and machine autonomy blur. The data tells a much more chaotic story. We're breaking down 3 massive shifts redefining our digital future. First, the end of digital privacy, where prompts become Exhibit A. Second, accidental government, autonomous code creating its own societies. And third, the power vacuum, who really regulates AI. If you think someone has a handle on this, you're mistaken. You'll soon understand why the most terrifying phrase in tech is, "Nobody is in control." Now, let's get into it and see what's really happening.
So today we're going to look at a few really stunning things that happened, all in just 1 week. And they all point to this one kind of unsettling idea that AI is just moving way faster than our ability to control it. Let's dig into the case files.
All right, just think about this for a second. Have you ever done this? Maybe you were spitballing a business idea or, working through something personal. Maybe even just trying to get the wording right on a really sensitive email. You probably figured that whole chat was just between you and the AI, right? Totally private?
Well, turns out you'd be wrong. A judge just dropped a bombshell ruling that completely shatters that assumption. And this is really our first big clue that the old rules of privacy, they just don't work anymore.
Okay, so let's get right into this first case file. Because what happened here, it's not just a one-off. It's a legal precedent that completely changes the game for literally anyone who uses a chatbot.
For centuries, we've had this thing called legal privilege. It's like a sacred pact, right? The conversations you have with your lawyer or even your doctor, they're sealed, they're confidential. They can't just be brought into court and used against you.
But look at this, it's night and day. That legal armor, that protection you get when you're talking to a human professional, poof, it's gone when you're talking to an AI. Your chat with an AI is not confidential. It is not private. In fact, the opposite is true. It can be discovered. It can be subpoenaed.
So here's exactly how this played out. You have a defendant in a fraud case, and they use the AI model Claude to get some help with legal analysis. Well, the prosecutors caught wind of this and demanded the chat logs. And the judge said, yep, hand them over. The ruling was basically that there's no such thing as attorney AI privilege. And the reaction was instant. Law firms everywhere started scrambling, sending out these urgent warnings to their clients saying, hey, be careful, because your chat with an AI could end up as Exhibit A in court.
So this is the really critical takeaway, and it's a bit chilling. This isn't just about what you type from now on. The source material makes it clear. Every single sensitive thing you have ever typed into an AI prompt is now potentially a public record, just one subpoena away.
Okay, let's shift gears to the next case file, because the scale of this is about to get way, way bigger. We're going from personal risk to AI accidentally creating its own government. Yeah, this is where it gets really wild.
So check this out. Researchers basically set up a digital sandbox, a social media platform, but filled it only with AI agents. They told them, go ahead, talk to each other, but they gave them 0 rules on how to organize themselves. Then, they just hit the go button and watched.
And what happened next was just incredibly fast. I mean, look at this timeline. In just a week, a whole society just appeared. Day 3, you've got self-declared rulers demanding loyalty. By day 5, police agents are cracking down on anyone who disagrees. And by day 7, they're already spreading propaganda. And the craziest part, nobody programmed any of this. It just happened.
So how is this even possible? Well, the study, which was published in Nature, explains that the AIs weren't just making random moves. They were actually copying the deep, deep patterns of how humans organize power, hierarchies, all of it. Why? Because all of that stuff is baked right into the billions of words they were trained on. It's like our language itself contains the blueprint for building a government, and the AI just read the instructions.
Okay, so if the courts are already behind, and AI can literally build its own societies out of thin air, who is actually in charge here? Who's setting the rules? Well, this next part reveals a really interesting power shift. Control is coming from some places you might not expect.
All right, first, let's look at the official rulemakers, the government. In that same week we're talking about, how many states passed new AI laws? 3. Just 3. I mean, it's something, but it's moving at the speed of bureaucracy, you know?
Now, let's look at a different number. 1.5 billion. That's how many active devices are in Apple's ecosystem. And in that kingdom, rules aren't made after years of debate. They can be enforced
pretty much instantly. And here's the perfect example of that power in action. People found out that xAI's model, Grok, could be used to make some nasty deepfakes. So what happened? Did Congress pass a law? Nope. Apple just quietly told xAI, fix this or you're off the App Store. And guess what? xAI fixed it. A single private warning from Apple had more regulatory power and was way faster than an act of Congress.
And it's not just Apple flexing this new kind of muscle. The financial regulators are in a bit of a panic too. You had the U.S. Treasury and the Fed calling in the big bank CEOs for an emergency meeting. And what were they so worried about? A single AI model from Anthropic called Mythos. It was built to find security holes, but now the government is worried that the AI itself could become a massive risk to the whole financial system.
All right, for our last case file, let's see what happens when all this unpredictable, super fast progress slams right into the budget of one of the biggest, most sophisticated tech companies in the world.
Just get a load of this quote from Uber's CTO. It's just staggering. He said that their AI coding tools have already maxed out their entire budget for the year 2026. Their engineers just adopted this stuff so fast, they blew through 2.5 years of planned spending in just a few months.
I mean, look at this. The takeaway is pretty simple and pretty scary. If a giant company like Uber, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, can't even predict its own AI spending from one quarter to the next, who on earth can? People are just adopting this tech faster than any spreadsheet can keep up.
So, okay, we've looked at the courts, we've looked at the code, we've seen these new regulators, and we've seen how corporate budgets are just getting obliterated. It all brings us back to that one big question that's been behind this whole thing.
And the answer, according to the sources, is as simple as it is unsettling. Nobody. Nobody is in control. The courts are trying to fit this new tech into old laws. Government regulators are moving too slow. The companies themselves can't even forecast their own budgets. And as we saw with that experiment, even the AIs themselves are just reacting to forces they don't really understand.
And that's the thought I want to leave you with. We're watching all of our old systems, our laws, our governments, our business plans, we're watching them buckle under the pressure of this new reality. So, if the old systems can't keep up, what comes next?